We saw in the first section how Krishna is unknowable. And in the second section, Krishna explained the essence of the Gita. And in the third, after hearing all of this, Arjuna explained his realization of how Krishna is the Supreme. And then he specifically asked, I want to be aware of you all the time. So, how do I see? Because he is a warrior and it's not very easy to be absorbed. And similarly, for every one of us, we are going to be engaged in this world. So, how can we still maintain the consciousness of seeing Krishna despite our deep involvement in the world? So, in order to benefit everyone, Arjuna is asking this question. Arjuna's question in the verses 17 and 18 of the previous section leads to this particular section in which Krishna explains all his opulences, Vibhuti Yoga. So Krishna will explain his prominent manifestations from verses 19 to 39, and then he will explain the infinite splendor. So John, let's jump into the actual topic of the day, which is Vibhuti Yoga, the opulences of the Absolute. So we are going to discuss the context, what is the definition of Vibhuti, and need for this, and why is it so important, and why does Krishna actually speak about this, despite speaking the 9th chapter, and how does it work, and how do we apply it in our own lives, and see. The context of Vibhuti Yoga is that after hearing the Chatushloki Gita, which is considered as the essence of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks how to meditate on Krishna amidst worldly distractions. That is 10.17. So after hearing this, Krishna responds by explaining this Vibhuti Yoga section because he gives the process of seeing divine connection in extraordinary material manifestations around us. Because the distraction means unnecessary attraction. That is what is distraction is, essentially. Something else attracts our attention. That is called as distraction. So here Krishna is saying that how everything extraordinary which attracts us in this world is all having its source and connection with Krishna. And the more we train ourselves to see that, we will be able to overcome that distraction because ultimately everything is to develop connection with Krishna. So everything else is in one sense a distraction. However, we cannot just be 24 hours just focused on Krishna currently. So then we need to know how to connect other things. So here in this section, Vibhuti Yoga addresses a practical challenge for all spiritual practitioners, how to stay focused on Krishna while engaging with the material world. So that's what is the central theme that Krishna is trying to address. And the next thing is, what does the word Vibhuti means? Vibhuti means special manifestations. V means usually Visesha, special. So Bhuta is existence. So Vibhuti together means exceptional qualities like beauty, power, intelligence. So these special manifestations or material attractions, they all reflect a spark of Krishna's opulence. So that's what is being denoted by this word Vibhuti. Viseshena Bhuta means a special type of existence, exceptional exhibition of power or beauty or intelligence and all that. So why do we need this? Why is it such an important topic that Krishna takes a whole chapter? Because our spiritual interest is often distracted by material attractions. That is mainly because of our bodily consciousness. So Vibhuti Yoga bridges the gap by showing how these attractions are literally sparks of Krishna's splendor. So in that way, this can help us redirect our focus toward Krishna. So instead of being pulled away from Krishna by our material attractions, we will be pushed toward Krishna by connecting those manifestations to their divine source. So this is the need, because Bhakti Yoga is not the process of rejection, rather it's a process of connection. So that's what Krishna is giving us an avenue to connect with him in innumerable ways. Why is it important? Because, as I said, the path of bhakti is not a path of rejection. It's not the path of Vedantic renunciation like the neti, like not this. Rather, Vibhuti Yoga represents the, what do you call it? Vibhuti Yoga represents the spirit of bhakti. That is integrating material perception into spiritual practice. Bhakti is not the process of rejection, but it's a process of connection. So it makes it practical for us, those who are engaged in this world. It makes it easy for us to actually relate with the world and still remain connected to Krishna. So Krishna explains that how all attractive things in this world are just a spark of his splendor. So recognizing this and practicing this can transform our material attachment into spiritual connection. So that is why this chapter is very important. So how does it work? Yoga means connection. So the more we consciously connect things to Krishna, that is yoga. We are connecting with Krishna. So, say for example, if we are looking at someone and thinking, wow, so handsome, so beautiful, so then there is like an element of enjoyment that can come into our consciousness. Sometimes we may be just appreciating the beauty, but many times we may be just thinking, oh, I want to enjoy that beauty. So we see that beauty as a spark. If we see that as a Krishna's opulence, then there is a connection immediately. There is a yoga. So that is how in daily life also we have been trained through deity worship. You look at a flower, oh, this is a nice flower I could be offering to Krishna. Oh, this is a nice thing. So in ways that we could use daily elements, incense, food, flowers, smell, texture, touch, all of these various senses and sense objects that we have are all engaged in the worship of Krishna, and that helps us connect with the world and spiritualize our consciousness. So it raises our consciousness from matter to spirit. We use the very matter which distracts us to actually advance our consciousness beyond matter. We use matter to go beyond matter. So that is the process of deity worship. However, deity worship is restricted to a certain space. Like you need to have an altar, you need to be present, and you need to be have the resources. And it's only possible for certain part of the day. However, we deal with the world the rest of the time. So for us to carry that consciousness, deity worship trains us how to see material things in connection with Krishna. So similarly, when we go out in the world, that deity worship can extend as Vibhuti Yoga, that we start seeing things in connection to Krishna and his service. So the key takeaways from Vibhuti Yoga could be the purpose is not to focus on the material manifestation itself, but to use it as an impetus to remember Krishna. So extraordinary manifestations reflect Krishna's glory, and they can help us remember Krishna amidst even worldly distraction. This is something we could ask, like, how can I consciously connect the attractive things in my life to Krishna instead of being attached to them? Whenever you try to see beauty, strength, uh, power, influence, intelligence, when we try to see that as spark of Krishna's opulence, it can change our perspective. So if we attempt, then you can share the experiences also in the future. Like, how does it change our perspective? How does that distraction immediately becomes very grounding? So that's why it's very important to understand this chapter and the principle. It's not just the list that we understand, because not just the extraordinary manifestations, every manifestation comes from Krishna. So it's very easy to be attracted to the extraordinary things. That's why Krishna is using the extraordinary things, because in that sense everything comes from Krishna, but not everything may attract us. So if we start with the attraction, then eventually we will be able to connect everything with Krishna too. But it's easy to start with the attracting thing, because you can, if you're more aware, you can immediately see, oh, this thing is attracting me. So that what is in this thing that it is attracting me? So this is the orientation for this section of the chapter called Vibhuti Yoga. If any of you have anything, we could discuss before we actually get into the verses 19 to 42. Any thoughts, any reflections? Yes, Sundarananda Prabhu, then Purva.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I have a question about what it means to think of Krishna. So we hear that a lot, always remember Krishna. Even here in this purport, in a Prabhupada, Arjun's asking, how can I think of you and remember you? So does it mean we think of our, if I know the deity of Krishna that we know, But we see there are so many types of deities, right? Some are black in color, white. We have rather more bluish. We are told Krishna's form. Or does it mean just the concept, as we see in this chapter, right? The of the sun, the moon. I mean, of the stars is a moon. Does it mean just thinking of the concept that that is Krishna? Is that enough? What does it really mean?
Thank you, Sundaran. It makes it more relevant. This question is very pertinent. There are multiple levels, and our ability is also varied in varied situations, because sometimes you have to focus on the task at hand too. So if somebody is cooking, they can begin with a prayer, they can set an intention why they are cooking, and after cooking they can offer, and through the cooking they can be clean, they can be conscious, but they also need to look at the particular preparation. Is it cooked better? Need to pay real attention to the process of cooking itself, but in the background thought can be like, this is for Krishna's pleasure. So the more the feeling is there, it's like a mother cooking for the child. So the love for the child is very evident in the act of cooking, constantly thinking what would be good for the health, what would be preferable in terms of the taste. And in this way, it will be very useful for the process. So when we actually want to focus on that activity itself, so when, like a mother's example is a very easy example, I would say. So they embody it very much. So the actions are very focused, the work is done perfectly, but the love for the child is also always in the forefront of the consciousness. So similarly, a devotee, as we grow in our attachment to Krishna, we are focused on the work, but we are also very clear like why we are doing that work itself, why we're doing that action itself. So then as we advance, it could be more direct remembrance also. You could just be remembering Krishna in a more direct way. So then those things, because the more we grow in consciousness, there is a detachment has come. So then in the general purpose of life has become very strongly Krishna conscious, centered around Krishna. Then the devotees can directly go to the level of just straight remembering Krishna's pastimes as a person. So as they grow, so this is just the entry point, because currently my mind is very much distracted by the material things around me. Things, people, objects, they attract me a lot, because so the legs are firmly stuck in the mud of material attraction. So I need to extricate that. But my vision is on Krishna, but my legs are stuck in the material mud. So I need to gradually extricate my legs, and eventually I'll just be able to get where I'm looking at. So it's a continuous process as devotees, as practicing Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So we have more understanding of Krishna's pastimes, how he is danced on the Kaliya, how he lifted Govardhan. So those are very nice, very important, and that attraction is where we want to focus. However, we do see, though we love those things, we get distracted. And those very distractions stops us from getting to that level of meditation. So simultaneously, when we are also developing attraction to direct pastimes of Krishna and his name and qualities, we also need to understand what are our distractions. How can I actually make it more Krishna consciously connected? How can those distractions lead me to Krishna? I hope I made sense.
Perfect answer, Prabhu, as usual. Thank you very much for clarifying.
Hare
Appreciate
Krishna.
it. Krishna.
Purva, Hare Krishna. Thank you, bro.
I had a question about when you said to use matter to go beyond matter, and you gave the example of when we see a beautiful flower, we offer it to Krishna. We can think of offering it to Krishna, or something very tasty, we can offer it to Krishna first. But these are things that we can offer. What about things that we cannot offer? If we see a very beautiful mountain, all we can do is think about Krishna's opulences and how well he has made the mountain, or just nature in general. But how can we offer things that really attract our mind, but don't,
Cannot be
we
offered.
can't really, yes.
The idea is connection and awareness. Offering is an external activity. But as you said, I cannot offer a mountain, but if I'm in the nature and I'm just feeling that relaxation, so I can develop gratitude. Thank you, Krishna, for creating such a wonderful nature that I'm just able to just completely feel nourished by that connection. So the idea is about bringing in more awareness and connection. Hope that makes
Okay,
sense.
thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else?
One more quick question, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
In last week's class, you said that you would typically rush through this section, and maybe you're going to explain why you would rush through this section and why. And then you also said that nowadays you take a lot of time to relish this section. So, what is the difference?
Initially, even now I struggle, but it was much more like I was unaware of my stupidity before. Now I am aware of my stupidity. That's the difference. However, in the past, I was like, I just was more understanding the text, like how is it flowing? What is the connection? I was in Krishna was there, but Krishna was still like, for me, the Gita book was not person Gita, was not person Krishna. For me, Gita as a book and Krishna were two different entities, very distinctly two different entities. I feel like the more I'm practicing and I'm engaging in bhakti, Gita is Krishna's word, so I'm able to gradually feel, oh, it's not different. Like Gita is Krishna, Krishna is Gita. So when he is saying and especially in the battlefield, in such dire circumstances, if he's taking the time to explain these things, so he has a point to make. And all of the main point is like, how can we actually become more Krishna conscious? So now my understanding is, oh, if Krishna has taken so much effort to give 20 the 25 verses about how we can connect with him on a daily basis, there must be some reason for that. So can I lean into it? Earlier I was like, so here in the 19th verse, Krishna himself speaks, he says, oh, Arjuna, I'll tell you all my splendorous manifestations, extraordinary manifestations. And I also explained already why extraordinary manifestations and why not all, everything. Because extraordinary things immediately attract our attention. So we go from extraordinary thing to the state of seeing Krishna everywhere and in everything eventually. So that's why he says, I'll tell you a list of my splendorous manifestations. And still, even the splendorous manifestations are unlimited. He says, only very prominent things I'll tell, because my opulence is limitless. So we will also see, is Krishna boasting like my opulences are limited? You don't know how great I am. I'll tell you a few things. Is Krishna like really boasting? So that we will see in the character analysis part. So here just we will go through the list. And Krishna, the first thing he says is, I'm the super soul seated in the hearts of all living entities. I'm the beginning, the middle, and end of all beings. So it's fabulous because he's starting with the super soul manifestation, because he is everywhere in the material manifestation, and especially in the heart of all beings. So we are all trying to see everything external and then connect to Krishna. And Krishna is saying, actually, I'm sitting in your heart. So the idea of telling all these lists which are external to us is so that eventually we can connect with that Lord who is sitting in our hearts. So that is why he's starting with that. This is the main purpose, that connection, internal connection. That's why he's saying, I reside in the heart as super soul, and I'm the beginning, middle, and end of all existence. Everything comes from, like, that is Janma Adi Asyataha, means creation, maintenance, and annihilation, beginning, middle, end of all existence. And then he is speaking about that how among luminous sources, that Krishna is the sun. We know so many luminous sources, but nothing compares to the sun in this world. And in terms of the moon, he says Nakshatrana Maham Sashi. Nakshatra does not mean star in the Vedic language. Nakshatra means any celestial body also. So among the celestial bodies, moon is very attractive. Moon has captured the imagination of so many poets and artists for millennia. And it's naturally a very, very soothing also. So that's why he's comparing himself with the sun in terms of luminosity, moon in terms of attractiveness, cooling properties. And he's also referring to himself that of the Vedas, I am Samaveda, of the demigods, I am Indra, and of the senses, I am the mind. Is mind among the senses, because we all understand all the senses, the leader is the mind. If my mind goes, my senses, say like someone knocked on my door, like my mind went there, I couldn't listen to what Sundarananda Prabhu was telling me. My ears are open, but my mind has gone there, so then I'm not able to focus my senses here. So where there is mind, that's then the senses follow them, even if they are physically open and present, but still they cannot process information because mind is the leader. So that is why mind is extremely powerful, and we all know how mind can make heaven out of hell or hell out of heaven. It is very crucial in order to live a peaceful life, and it can completely change everything for us. So that is why it is very important that Krishna is identifying that mind as the most important sense or the leader of the senses, and that represents me. And the other he says is the life force in all beings. Like how amazing it is. Like without life, the dead body is not attractive, is not at all attractive. It's feared. The people whom we love, the people whom we adore, the moment actually there is no consciousness, then they are no more attractive. So whatever is what attracts is the consciousness. So the more alive, say for example, someone becomes more of unconscious and comatose state, they are not usually very attractive, because the more a person is alive, the more the person is reciprocative, the more person is vibrant, the more the person is active, that's what is very attractive. So it's the consciousness that is attracting. And again, also people, say for example, if people may be like poker faced, so then they don't attract us. Like it's a consciousness how they manifest. Consciousness is there, but how it is manifested also attracts us. So that is why Krishna is saying that bhutanam asmi chetana. It's very important. So mind can completely change our perception, and consciousness is that which attracts our mind. So that's why they both are given here. What attracts the mind is consciousness, is what is more alive, what is more attractive, what is more active, what is more vibrant. So that's why he's identifying himself as, or saying these are his opulences. And the other thing that Krishna speaks about is among immovable objects that Krishna says he is Himalayas. Among the rivers, he is Ganges or Ganga. So in that way, he's taking up more in the list. And he says, of all Rudras, I am Shiva, of the Yakshas, Rakshasas, I am Kuvera, of Vasus, I am fire, of mountains, I am Meru, of generals, I am Kartikeya, of priests, I am Brihaspati, of bodies of water, I am ocean. Just imagine, like we all are, water is so amazing, but it's very dangerous. When even if you're a great swimmer, oceans can be very terrifying. So still, of all the bodies of water, ocean is mind blowing. And of the sages, he says, I am Bhrigu. Of vibrations, he is Om, because it is the Ekakshara mantra. So it is just, if there is one akshara, if there is one syllable which is so powerful, Krishna comes in that form of transcendental Om. That's Ekakshara mantra. So he says, of sacrifices, I am chanting the holy names. There are many types of chanting. There are many types of sacrifices. If you remember, Krishna explained chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, many kinds of sacrifices he explained. However, of all that, the primary sacrifice is japa, because the other sacrifices are offering external things in the fire. But japa is offering that which belongs to us, because I can offer flowers, ghee, wood, everything in the fire, but those things I don't create. I may buy in Vivek flowers for some few dollars, but they, just because I buy, they are not my creation. It is all belonging to Krishna. But what is my property is my attention. So japa yajna means not offering what externally, but offering in the fire of attention, like offering my attention internally to Krishna, because that is what belongs to me. That is the free will. So that is why Yajnanam Japa Yagyosmi. I can very easily offer externally something into the fire, but can I offer into the internal fire my attention? So that's why it is considered as the better form of sacrifice. So we don't have to destroy our consciousness. We just have to offer our consciousness to the Lord. And this chanting process is facilitating that. During chanting, we take our consciousness and offer it to the Supreme Lord, Shri Radha and Krishna. So that is the sacrifice which will give us the greatest result. There are many sacrifices you can do, Pushtra, Putra, so many other yagyas we see in the scriptures. By doing those sacrifices, we may gain something external. But here we gain the highest, greater result. We gain Krishna himself. That is basically we attain prema, we attain love for Krishna. So that is possible through the Japa Yagya. That is why he's saying, I am out of all Yagyas, I am Japa Yagya. Stavaranam Himalaya. So in high mountains, he is Meru. But in terms of big immovable objects, he is in his Hima. He identifies himself as Himalayas. And yeah, Krishna is eternal time and the ultimate destroyer, death, because it's not just the cute things, the beautiful things, but also the intense things can also be Krishna. So of all trees, he is Banyan. Of all the demigods, sages among the demigods, he is Narada. Of the Gandharvas, he is Chitraratha. Of the Rishis, like Munis, of the perfected beings, Siddhas, not Munis, Siddhas, he is Kapila. And of all the horses, he is Uchashrava. Horses are very beautiful as animals. So among them, he says, Uchashrava. And of elephants, he says, I am Airavata. Among men, he says, I am the king, because there is power, there is protection, there is discipline. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Of cows, I am Surabhi. So in this way, he is giving us many lists of procreation. Of the causes of procreation, I am Kandarpa. Of the serpents, I am Vasuki. I am Nagas, I am Ananta. I am aquatics. Among aquatics, he says demigod Varuna. Varuna is also considered as an aquatic. So of departed ancestors, he is Ariyama. Of dispensers of law, he is Yama, the Lord of Death. We can escape the immigration officials, the ICE, so many things we can actually escape. But we can't escape the dispenser of law in terms of Yama. So the Lord of Death, Yama, has all the accounts. So we may escape the laws of the land, laws of this world, authorities of law here, but ultimately the dispenser of law is Yama. And he says, among the demons, I am the devoted Prahlad, and among subduers, I am time. Because there are many kinds of subduers, but time makes the most beautiful into the ugly, most strong into the weak, most healthy into sick. So it's relentless what time can do actually. Like active people become passive, living becomes dead, because time changes everything in this world and nobody can resist the time. So time conquers even the greatest conquerors in this world. That's why he's saying, among subduers, I am time. We may be very proud, oh, I have achieved so many things in terms of money and contribution and all of those things. Time subdues everyone. So that's why he's saying, there are many conquerors of this world, but time is the reigning conqueror. Everything gets digested by time, but time is never digested. It keeps on going. So that is why he's saying Kalaha Kalayatamaham, among subduers and time. And then he says, among animals, I am lion. So lion is more majestic. It's considered the king of the forest. And he says, of purifiers, I am the wind. When there is a bad odor, we start ventilating. So let there be more air into the room. So of purifiers, he is the wind. So of the wielders of weapons, he is Rama. He is speaking about Parashurama. And among the rivers, he is Ganges. Of all creations, I am the beginning, the end, and also the middle. So earlier, he also said in the very first verse that he is the beginning, middle, and end of all beings. So conscious living entities. That he is, and here he is speaking about of all creations, he is the beginning, the end, and the middle also. So we come from him, we reside in him, we are maintained by him. Same applies to matter also. So of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self. Srila Prabhupada visited Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and they were asking, like, why are you here? What is the use that we have for all these things that you're sharing? He says, you are the greatest institute of science. Where is the science of the soul? Where is the department that actually studies the soul, science of the difference between the living body and the dead body? Where is that department? Because he says, of all sciences, that Krishna is saying, I am the spiritual science of the self. That's why Prabhupada was asking, where is the department that studies the soul? Because that is the highest spiritual science. And among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Because you may have so much logic, but if you don't arrive at the truth, there is no use of logic. Logic means you arrive at the truth. And of all truths, he is the conclusive truth. And in this ways, and again, Krishna is speaking about how he is the inexhaustible time. Earlier, time came in the form of and here again, Krishna is bringing in time. And here it is coming in the in the idea of imperishable, that it is inexhaustible, that earlier he was the subduer of time, time as a subduer, and here Krishna is saying that how time is inexhaustible. It exhausts everyone, but never gets exhausted itself. We all become exhausted with time. I can hold my phone for a while, but after 15 minutes, this very small, like the phone, which is very easy to lift, will exhaust me because time exhausts us. So time keeps moving at its own pace and moves everything in this world, but it's never exhausted. So that is why, again, he's using how important his time is. Of all creators, he's saying, I'm Brahma. I'm the all-devouring death, because we know many things which devour other things. One animal eats another animal. Big politicians eat small politicians. Big politicians sometimes eat the whole society also through corruption and by exercising power. But Mrityu Sarva Haraschaham, he is all devouring. And many people can steal things away from us. In this world, like there are thieves who can steal away some things. So they may take away some money. Sometimes you just lose your whole wallet. Then you can call the credit card company and freeze all your cards. So people can steal away cards, people can steal away clothes, money. But death actually steals everything from us. It not only takes away our possessions, it takes away our identification. And but it does not just take away the identity card. Like I have a identity card, like I work in this corporate, I'm a student of this organization, and we have our voter identity cards or all these identification cards, passport, visa, driver eyes, and a driver license. These days in the airport they ask for real ID. But death is going to not just take away these identifications, because the body will go, how I look, man, woman, all those identities will go. But it takes away our identifications also, like whatever we identify with. If I identify with my home, if I identify with my car, if I identify with my wealth, those things also go away. So that is why it's a thorough stealer. That is a mrityu sarva haraschaham, the best thief. That's why it's all devouring death. And he's saying, and also Krishna is speaking about Kirti Shrir Vakchanari Nam Smritir Meda Dhritikshama. That Srila Prabhupada translates how that among women I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. So here it is, that is also explained how all these qualities are very fine qualities. And usually women have them more in abundance and also represent these things. And also these qualities themselves are also sometimes considered feminine, some of these qualities. And women usually actually manifest them in a lot better way. They carry it much better. When it is being carried by a woman, then it is even more beautiful. And we see goddess of fortune. We don't call like, men is not like, it's not Lakshmi. Without Radharani, Krishna does not have the glow. So without Lakshmi, Narayan does not have the glow. And that is why here, fortune is a feminine quality in itself. And actually, women represent those qualities in general also well. And of the hymns, of the Vedas, is Sama, he said earlier. So here he's saying of the hymns in the Sama Veda is Brihat Sama, of the poetry is Chandasam Gayatri, Chandasamaham Gayatri. So of the months, he is Margasirsha. Of seasons, he is Kusumakara. Kusumakara means that which produces flowers, spring season, the flower bearing spring season. And also very interesting, he says, I'm also the gambling of cheats. Among like cheaters, he says, I'm gambling, because there are certain sports, but gambling is such a sport that everybody knows cheating is the principle of the game itself. The game itself is meant just for cheating. In other aspects, there may be cheating, but here cheating itself is the sport actually. So gambling means cheating. There is nothing other than the principle itself is cheating. That's why he's saying Dyutam Chalayatam Asmi. Among all cheats, I'm gambling, because everyone involved knows that everybody else is cheating, and they happily get cheated. And he says, we all have little splendor, but he says, of the splendid, I'm the splendor. Even if somebody is splendid, if a show is splendid, if a movie is splendid, that splendor, that attractive potency is coming from Krishna. I'm victory. Jayosmi. How in this world all of us are like working hard for success. Jayosmi, Vyavasayosmi, adventure, enterprise. Prabhupada translates it as enterprise or adventure. So we all want to be enterprising. We all want to be resourceful. Vyavasayosmi, adventure. We all hanker for adventure. In this world, there is so much advertisement happens for adventure, experiencing life. So he says that wanderlust never satisfies people because they're just looking for adventure. They don't know that adventure is actually Krishna. Because travel can give experience, does not provide, just experience alone does not provide wisdom. When the experience is digested, when it is connected to Krishna, then that experience can provide wisdom. So many people go through experiences in this world, good and bad. Hardly anyone learns from them. So when our experiences in life are connected to Krishna, then we can actually derive what is that I can learn from this experience, both good and the bad. So that is why I am the strength of the strong. Sattva can also be existence. Here, strength, the word meaning also can be strength. So he's saying Sattvam, among the strong, I am the strength. So in this way, Krishna is identifying with so many qualities. I'm not giving a break or taking much. You all can go study and then we can have informed discussion. And of the descendants of Vrishni, I am Vasudeva. Some acharyas say this Vasudeva is not Krishna because Krishna is already Vasudeva. So then why he is again saying of the Vrishni, I am Vasudeva? So there is no point. So this Vasudeva means Balaramji because he is also son of Vasudeva. So among Vrishni, he says Balaram is the best. He's not calling himself as the best. And of the Pandavas, when Pandavas, Arjuna is like kind of suspense. Imagine Krishna is saying all the list of splendors and feature in Forbes list. So it's a big deal. 30 under 30, 20 under 20, 40 under 40. So Forbes list, people are like so excited about listing under Forbes. Here Arjuna is listed in the list of splendors is by Krishna itself. So of Pandavanam, Krishna, Arjuna is thinking, oh, maybe he's going to speak Yudhishthir's name, maybe he's going to speak Bhima's name, but he's saying Arjuna. And why Arjuna?
Is it because he is now asking him all these questions and calling and saying, "You're my spiritual master, please"? And
that is true. That is all true. In one sense, Arjuna is also more devoted. It's not, devotion cannot be compared. It's not like giving a gradation among the Pandavas, but still Arjuna had a very friendly, more devoted relationship with Krishna. They were all of equal age, they were friends, and also Krishna, Arjuna had that devotion. And you see, immediately Arjuna is saying, stop here, Krishna, everything is fine. If of all the Pandavas you are me, then there is no need for you to tell me further, right? If Pandavanam Aham Arjuna means, oh, I got it. That means like you and me are same. We two are one. So there is no need for you to speak. So since both of us are one, so then I'll forget everything. I'm also God, you're also God. No, he did not say that. So here it does not mean that when Krishna says of the Pandavas, I am Arjuna, of the Himalaya, of the mountains, I am Himalayas. It's not that now Himalayas, like after reading this list, somebody is not going to say, now my worshipable object is going to be what? Spring season. That's all. Like I worship spring season because Krishna says, no, it's Arjuna is not doing that. If among all Pandavas, you are me, then I am you. So then shut up, stop. You don't need to go on. So no, the idea is not that it's all same, that Krishna is that person. So it's these objects that Krishna is listing are all not alternates to Krishna or ways to connect with Krishna or the exhibition of opulence of Krishna, not Krishna himself, no, especially not alternatives to Krishna. And the idea of I am God and we are all God is also can be very clearly seen defeated here. Literally, Krishna is saying of Pandavas, I am Arjuna, and Arjuna does not feel I am also God. No. And we all go around thinking I was an atheist before until I realized I am God. That's how stupid people can become. So yes, we are godly, but we are not gods. And here Arjuna can clearly see, and I am exhibiting that. And of the sages, I am Vyasa. Of the Muni, he says of the Munis, I am Vyasa. Because Vyasadeva is so amazing. He is greatest Muni because he compiled all the Vedic scriptures. How difficult it is. It's not very easy to do that. And that's why when Krishna refers to himself in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, he calls him a Mahamuni. He does not call himself as in the second shloka of the first chapter of the Bhagavatam. He says Mahamuni Krite. This is written by the Mahamuni. He does not say I wrote this. Because here also Muninam apyaham Vyasaha. Among all Munis, I am Vyasa. And Kavinam Ushana Kavi. Means among the priest, he is Ushana. And that is Shukracharya. And among all means of suppressing lawlessness, I am punishment. Sometimes you tell people nicely, don't do this. You say, you put a board, pedestrians not allowed, and then you keep a dog. And still if someone comes, then you take your gun. I'm not advocating guns here. I'm just saying there are multiple ways of controlling something. So among all means of suppressing lawlessness, I'm punishment, because most of the times that's what works. And Krishna is representing that. So Krishna says, gives Bhagavad Gita, sends his devotees, and propagates spiritual knowledge and tries his best. And he, even with Duryodhana, he went as a messenger of peace. There was Vidura to advise him. Maitreya Rishi comes to advise them. All kinds of things, like there is adjustments made, offers made, discounts made. No, nothing works. Then all for a rascal like Duryodhana, then the only thing works is punishment. So that is why if we want to bring things under control, sometimes the strongest means is danda. In politics, there is Sama, Veda, Danda, and those four principles. I'm forgetting the third one. There is Dana, yes. Sama, Dana, Veda, and Danda. Means you speak nicely and try to glorify people, and actually Dana, for give gifts to people. And that's how networking works in politics and in corporates. People create networks, people invite, feed, give gifts. So Dana, first you try to buy people to your side. If that does not work, glorify them. You're amazing, you're great. So still they don't, then Veda, like give some kind of threat, a veiled threat. If you won't fall in line, then you will, like a veiled threat, not a straight threat. So then even that does not work, then a direct threat. Even that does not work, then there is danda, then there is direct punishment. People with power, they deal like that. They try to buy people in, they try to talk people into, then they try to threaten people into, otherwise then they direct attack people. So if that's there, when Krishna is saying danda among in way dando damayatam. If you want to suppress lawlessness, then punishment works the most effective when people are not, and nothing else works. Of those who seek victory, I am morality. And of secret things, I am silence. So it said the best preserved secret is the one which you haven't told anybody. Of the wise, I am the wisdom. So in this way, Krishna is listing many things. And then furthermore, Krishna says, oh Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existence. There is no being moving or non-moving that exists without me. So we may think, oh, only the greatest things are all Krishna. He's saying it's not just the greatest things, Arjuna. There is nothing that can exist without me. So there is no being moving or non-moving that can exist without me. In one sense, I represent everything, but it's very easy to connect with the most prominent things, most attractive things. And then he says, oh, Arjuna, what do you call? There is no end to my divine manifestations. So what I've described is only a glimpse of in my infinite opulences. So he's just saying, I can just go on and on, but it's never going to end. So I'll give you the principle, Arjuna. So he gives the principle in 41. So this is the essential principle for this whole chapter. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from a spark of my splendor, Krishna's splendor. So all opulent, beautiful, glorious is all representing just Krishna's splendor. This is the whole principle for this whole chapter. Verse 41, if you understand this chapter. So it's not about the specifics of the list itself, but the principle behind those specific is that everything is actually splendor of Krishna. And he says, what to speak of all this, Krishna, Arjuna? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and sustain the entire universe. The entire universe is just supported by a single fragment of myself, a single expansion of myself. So all these things have much details also into that could be built into them. So if there is, please go through the list and next week we can take, or we can discuss it in the WhatsApp group. So the essence, if I have to summarize these verses from 19 to 42, see the extraordinary as a spark of the Supreme. Every attraction can lead us back to Krishna. So Krishna, the very word means all attractive. So that is why he is again speaking about the splendorous, extraordinarily attractive stuff. So at least use those things that attracts us to bring us back to Krishna. So that's the principle here. And a character analysis, like how we spoke earlier, like why does Krishna speak his glories? Is it not very boastful? So summarizing that in the form of a acronym, God, that he is speaking his glories for giving guidance to Krishna, Arjuna, not out of ego. So Krishna is speaking his glories only to guide Arjuna, not to boast, because he didn't start the topic on his own. If you see the context, Arjuna asked him, "Oh Krishna, how can I remember you continuously? Please help me." So it was Arjuna who asked for this. And that is after that, Krishna is explaining. So it cannot be considered as boasting. You ask someone, "What do you do?" And then they tell me, and then I cannot think, "Oh, how proud is this guy? He's just listing all these things." No, you asked for introduction. Who are you? And then he says, "I am so and so." You feel like how proud you are. No, Arjuna asked for, and Krishna is saying. And opulence with a purpose. Basically, Krishna wants that his opulences remind Arjuna of the divine's presence. So in that way, he is helping him stay connected to a higher reality amidst life's battles, life's circumstances, situations, interactions with the world. So the opulence is explained with a purpose of connecting us with Krishna. That is the purpose. And also, now that I connect everything with Krishna, or at least those things that attract me with Krishna gradually, then I can act without selfishness and I can act with detachment. So it is to also inspire detachment and eventually devotion. So by focusing on Krishna, Arjuna can, or all of us can act without selfish motives and achieving true detachment and eventually leading to strengthening our devotion. So this is the reason he is speaking his glories, it is not boasting. And lessons part, that what can we learn? And yes, Krishna's glories are limitless. That's one thing which becomes very apparent. And also shifting our perspective, our attention from the objects that attracts to the in this world to the source of those objects. How can I shift my perspective? And also this understanding that we, as we grow in spiritual life, we are supposed to be developing a constant remembrance. It sounds very daunting. We wouldn't want to give initially our complete attention and remembrance to Krishna all the time. It feels like very debilitating. But as I said, how a mother can always be remembering the child lovingly and still very attentively engage in all the household activities, and still the attention is in some way or other is on the child. The moment the child turns, then the attention goes there. So like that, gradually, the more we grow in bhakti, we also want to remember Krishna more, so that we shouldn't be averse to that principle. We may not be currently able to do it, and we may not fully be, aware how to do it, but we should not be averse to that principle. And by connecting everything attractive in this world to Krishna, we can gradually remember him even while engaged in daily activities. Or if a video game is attracting my attention, so then I can think, I can be playing, but what is it that is attracting me? So create a space. So between that attraction and the object that is attracting us, what is it that is attracting me? So tracing the source. So in the coming week, we can take our time to trace the source through this exercise. It could be helpful. So look at it. And yeah, I'm also have to stop soon. So if you can try for a day or this week, like an observation journal, whenever anything attracts you, you can write it down. What is that thing which is attracting? It could be good or bad, but just write it down. So then what is attracting you? So then you can think, what is it in it that it is attracting me? Is it the beauty? Is it the strength? Is it the intelligence? Is it the creativity? What is it that is attracting me? And then we can see, how is this a reflection of Krishna's opulence? And how is this activity of trying to note down our attractions consciously, how does this, and then trying to connect them to Krishna, how does that activity change my perspective? So in this way, we can see how these becoming aware of our attractions can actually help us feel more connected to Krishna, and how we can more and more go to the source through the objects, and how can we then gradually become more aware, and in that way then we can chant Hare Krishna dedicatedly with more attention. When our other attractions are reduced, then when we sit for chanting, then those things will not come and disturb us during our chanting. So resolving our attractions and plugging it back consciously towards Krishna and with Krishna, so can be helpful. So I will also work on them. You can also think about these things, because the study is not just understanding the book itself. The book is supposed to lead us to Krishna. That is why Krishna is taking the effort to speak. So thank you very much for your attention today. I hope you received some benefit. And this is the last verse of the last slide, that basically summarizing it, that in the first 7 verses that Krishna revealed how he is unknowable. And then he said, even though he is unknowable, through devotion, he could be known, and he himself will help us to understand Krishna better if we engage in bhakti. And that is when Arjuna realizes it's so paradoxical. The beginning starts with Krishna as unknowable. He says, with devotion, you can know me. And Arjuna says finally, yes, I started knowing you, Krishna. Now I realize who you are. Though he's saying you're unknowable, then the next thing that Krishna says, oh, I realize who you are. You're Parandama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. So Arjuna shares his realization and then asks more, that how can we actually know in this world? Through the immediate objects. That all of these things that are distracting us from knowing him, behind that, we can use those very things to know Krishna more. So in this way, this whole chapter is about opulences of the absolute, and how we can know Krishna through his opulences. So thank you all very much for this opportunity to engage more with this chapter. And thank you again. If you have any reflections or questions, quickly, we could take a 1 or 2 for a few minutes, or feel free to share it in the WhatsApp group. We can always engage there. Yes, Purva.
Prabhu, just a quick question. Can you please give us some practical tips on how we can reduce our laziness and procrastination in devotional service?
It's usually better if we develop a routine, like there is more accountability in terms of, if we state what are the things that I will do. I will chant this many rounds, I will read this much, I will do this service, something like that. So if we have a stated objectives, then it becomes more easier in the beginning to keep track. So make a plan before,
Okay.
because if we don't make a plan, then we cannot expect our mind to be naturally active. Because sometimes we become tired, sometimes so many things are happening, sometimes some thoughts are draining us, some activities are draining us physically, mentally, we become tired. So if we create a plan, even if you don't follow it 100%, still you have a plan. So then it's easy to come back to the plan.
That's what happens. I do make a plan, but then I can't follow it 100%. And then I get so frustrated that the next day I don't make any plan. And then
So the idea is not that if I make a plan and if I won't follow it 100%, then I'll just completely abandon it. Rather, keep it the goal to get to. It's not the first day you will do it 100%. The goal is to eventually follow it more perfectly. If you the first day you think, today I'll just put tick mark on all these things, and then you feel like, oh no, I didn't achieve it. So no, the idea is not to go on the first day itself, do all of those things. The idea is eventually to get there.